Prologue, a distant conversation blew over the isolated Midwest town of Fayetteville. "Do you think that's what the adults want from us?" a young man asked. "Comfort?" "I think they are extending their lives," a young woman replied. "Well, I have a tale for you of what happens when people want to live past their sell-by date." It seemed they never stopped, but in a moment at sunrise, they dropped their shovels and shuffled off across the field toward the graveyard. It was as though a nightmare had taken hold of the consciousness of this town, which had separated itself from the outside world somehow. The waters ran bitter as an undine, a mermaid, appeared in the well in the center of town square. After she arrived, the patrons started to dwindle at the laundry house. Something angry had come to town, something unsettled. But the truth is, Fayetteville had always been a restless place that shifted with the winds. Have you ever known a town so sick with its own secrets that the soil cries out for a fresh start, where nature itself sits down and refuses to move forward until the grievance is righted? Something bad had been happening in Fayetteville for years, something so evil it isolated the town in its punishment. And yet, there is a love story here too at the bottom of that well. As is often found in the darkest of black soils burned by ash, new life began to rise, and nothing in Fayetteville could stop it. There is a train out of Fayetteville just at the end of that dusty track there to the east, if you want to leave this town while you can. It only goes one way, and there hasn't been a passenger in about 80 or 90 years. There's not much beyond it, but the land is healthier and living in a different parallel timeline. There you could be happy if you want to avert your gaze from what happens to this hidden place. Every family in Fayetteville had secrets, so many secrets the soil dried up and the farms dwindled, and families had only one child. By the 1930s, the town couldn't support a population anymore. Corruption grew. Then desperation. Secret loves, secret hates, and secret spells were whispered into the dark to draw assisting spirits. Businesses rebounded for a while with the help of magic, but have you ever tried to suck the juice out of an orange with a straw? Eventually, the juice wouldn't flow. It isn't all bad news, love. While all this was unfolding and the population quietly dwindled, the brothel workers trapped at the laundry house found their magic. I think if you do decide to stick around for this story, you will confirm that these young people somehow knew what they were doing after all. The problem with desperation magic of any variety, however, is that it tends to draw energy in from alternate dimensions. Such immense power is drawn on when a soul is in true crisis and danger of oblivion or in utter despair, that some ugly and strange things alike seep out of the cracks of reality. Anyway, enough with the warnings. It appears you're staying. If you want to know about the magic at the bottom of things, come along with me to the center of Fayetteville to see the fish woman and the well. You have been warned. Here, clothing styles remained the same for 100 years. The food dwindled slow enough to just barely tolerate, and human nature showed its desperate, greedy underbelly. No one ever came to town anymore, and nobody left. One of them had his hand fall off, but he didn't even notice. He left it behind on the road. At the same moment, men poured out of the brothel into the dawn, and women in tattered dresses walked home, staring straight ahead, ignoring the dead walking past. The day was short and uneventful. A cold front blew through this small town that evening. The chill fingers of the breeze settled on the graveyard on the south edge of this quiet town that slept under dead oak trees. It seemed everyone was asleep in Fayetteville by midnight, but everything wasn't what it seemed in this town, which had long ago lost what soul it had left with the last of the wilted crops. Maybe some were sitting up late, thinking about the children that had died in the plague, or the older teens they sold to the mayor to take to the orphanage that didn't turn out to exist. Most people in Fayetteville would tell you the cold spirit over town was a curse for the brothel called the laundry house. That's what the orphanage really was. But that is only if you could find someone to ask. Most adults had gone missing one by one in Fayetteville, and now could only be seen walking the streets at night, apparently looking for pills. People said it was the drugs the mayor had brought to town, promising an antidepressant, cure for small-town despair that could give you energy as well as ideas to revitalize the town. But that's not quite what happened. Except for some younger adults selling their bodies for pills of the laundry house, no one was even working now. This couldn't stand, and yet no one knew how to replace this economic and energetic engine of the town. As outside the laundry house, there was really nothing left but crumbling homesteads and closed-up shops, hollowed out by a dry wind that came with every full moon to disturb the dead in their graves. They say not to start with the weather, but we must, as the wind will factor heavily here as a character in our story, and the weather wasn't pleased. We start our scene in a small town where nothing is happening. That isn't strictly true, in fact, nor do I mean this in the sense that this is a sleepy place. This town of Fayetteville is fully asleep. Night walking, they call it here. Something strange has happened. Piles of mine rubble ring the town in radioactive dust, like a black salt pentagram. Maybe it called to some unsavory entity. Maybe the earth itself called out for rebalancing. Whatever happened, something answered the call of opportunity. The magician came to Fayetteville on the train the same day other people stopped using it. Did they know it was pointless to try to leave after that day he declared himself mayor? The bodies didn't start rising from the graves for a while yet. No human could remember exactly when it started or how many there were the first time. I suppose there's always one human who is the first to rise in these scenarios. They couldn't help it. Humans seem compelled to continue on, even when all hope is lost. Certainly that was true in this town in the upper Midwest, so forgotten you can't find this town on a map. The wind whipped up fungal spores and threw them into a whirlwind of lacy dead leaves. Then why haven't we died yet? The first voice asked. I think we would have if we were normal humans like them, the girl said. A pause. We're different? Love, can't you feel the magic in us? Something is very wrong, even more wrong than we thought with this strange arrangement. Chapter 1. So you think the end of the world is the worst thing that could happen? That we could all die in the inferno of the world, reforming itself without the human race? Men to the east edge of town were shoveling gravel around a train track that faded into the dark distance. Hope was drying up for this forsaken place. On this bright new day when the sun rose, the winds shifted and flowed toward the center of town square, converging over a deep stone well.